What's going on, people? FCTV Premier League review show. My co-host Hump. What's going on, Hump?
I'm all right, Hatch. We're off and running, mate. Let's get straight into it, eh? Let's talk about how fantastic some of these sides were, or how absolute shit they were.
Yeah. So who are we gonna
I
start
think
with
we
first?
start with let's go United, mate. I mean, it was the first game of the season, wasn't it? I mean, personally, I don't think United are in as bad a shape as a lot of people seem to, and obviously they got the win. I don't think it was particularly convincing, was it? But weakish opposition, obviously at home, first game of the season. Like literally, it's gone their way. They've got the 3 points. That's all that matters. But personally, I don't think they're in as bad shape as what a lot of people do. I think there's a little bit more going there at the club. They've got a lot of strong players, good pedigree throughout the club to some degree. But that also has got a caveat of they don't really tend to turn it on too much or too often, do they? So they are there for the taking if you turn up on the day.
Yeah. For me, with the Man U one, it's like obviously I'm gonna judge, but where they didn't have all their play, even like the lit, they didn't. Zerky didn't start. He come on like I think it was 20 minutes left or something like that. So I'm not really gonna judge like straight away until they get like their
Mate,
main players.
you're 100%, mate. You're 100% right, mate. At this stage of the season, it's a well-known fact. I think Pep started it like probably 2 or 3 seasons ago, where okay, pre-season's supposed to get these sides in shape, right? All the friendlies, etc. But right, we've just had a Euros. Rodri didn't start the first game, that sort of stuff, right? Literally, Pep he's been doing it for 2 or 3 seasons, where some of the higher end players, if you like, they get a little bit more of a breather, especially after what we've just experienced with the Euros. There's lots of players out there that's had no rest, no time to be with their families, nothing. So I think what you've just said there is totally true. First probably 3 to 5, maybe even the first 6 games of the season, they're more like the pre-season friendlies, it seems, where everyone's being played up to their level of fitness, if you know what I mean. And I think what you just said there on United is quite accurate. I mean, they probably had 4 or 5 players that they can still bring into that starting lineup, didn't they? And also, they're like the players that they've had have probably not played the same amount of like fixtures in the lead up to the start of the season. So they're all at different levels. And with all this scientific side of things these days, they only want to give them a certain amount of workload. He's done 60 minutes. He's done 120. Let's get them all up to the same levels, and then let's build them into the season. And I think that's what we're going to see, mate. You've just covered 2 games in my absence, or a few games in my absence live, and there was hardly anything really going on in the games, was there? It wasn't like it was too much action. It was as if everyone's just turned up like the season started, but as it really started. That's how I see it. But I think you're right.
Yeah.
But United for me, mate, I don't think they're going to be a pushover in any game. But they've got that other side to them, haven't they, where they can be taken to the cleaners, or they can be beaten easily as well. So I think you can say that for a number of sides underneath City and obviously your lot.
And that's what I was gonna say. I'm not really gonna judge them because it's like first they ain't got all their signings yet. A couple people are injured, so I'm gonna just hold my judgment on Manu. But looking at them, it did look end to end. Like if that's how they're gonna play, me personally, I don't think that will work. But like I said, I'm not gonna go too mad on Manu right now because, like I said, they ain't had their signing, so we gotta wait and see. But that I tell you what, that right back, that is it Mazawari from Bayern?
Mazraoui.
He looked like a player. He looked like a beast.
Well, for me, mate, I mean, I've seen him in the past, like in a few fixtures. I think obviously he was at Bayern. Sadly I've missed the opening weekend of the season due to work commitments. But along the lines of like watching a little bit of and seeing who's what and who's who, I think that most of the new signings, it's typical, same every year. Some will settle in straight away. Some might need a little bit of time to bed in. But in terms of United, to finish off on them, mate, because we don't really want to talk about them too much, do we? But I think that listen, they're they're getting towards like sort of like yours and City's level, where they're starting to build potentially two sides that they can field to some degree. Whether or not you think that they're all strong players or all at top of the line, that's obviously open to debate. But for me, I'm not going to go too much like on them this season. I think that they're going to be a tough game whoever plays them. I don't think that'll ever really change. But for the top elite sides, sort of like from last season, how the league table finished anyway, I don't see Liverpool, Arsenal, City. I don't see them having too much trouble against them, but they are definitely capable of turning the tables, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. What game was next?
Well, that's Ipswich Liverpool was basically the next one, wasn't it? The early game on the Saturday. I did actually get to watch a little bit of this in between what I was up to, and for me, not even really going to discuss Ipswich too much because I think everybody knows where they're at. They're going to be obviously fighting for their lives all season. Liverpool, some of the bits and pieces I saw.
Hold on. I don't think so, you know. Ipswich.
What you mean in terms of Ipswich?
Yeah, Ipswich, for me, they look decent. Like, I thought that Liverpool was just going to run them over. But when I was watching, for me, Ipswich ain't going down 100%. For me, anyway.
I wouldn't say 100% that they're going down. I'm not going to suggest that. But I'll put it to you this way. I'll ask the question this way. Who in the Premier League sort of 17 that were already there that weren't promoted from the Championship last year, out of those 17 sides, who is going to be worse than Ipswich, Southampton or Leicester? That's the question.
Yeah, that is the question. But I still think that watching Leicester yesterday against you, they're not 100% to go down. I saw good bits of football from them. I thought it was just going to be an easy day for you lot as well, but that's another one.
It's never an easy day for Tottenham, mate. That's just how it is with Tottenham. They're literally even when they're 5-0 up, you still think that we might lose 6-5. But either way, for me, Leicester, Southampton, they're fighting out for who's bottom. Personally, right, I don't see it any other way. And the question I asked you was, out of the 17 sides that were obviously in the Premier League last season and remained, as it stands, Everton have just had an absolute stinker of a start in terms of the result. But yet, in the first half of the game, they were pretty much on top of Brighton. So, okay, it fell apart a little bit, and then Ashley Young was sent off, etc. But lots of people are looking at them as being involved in a relegation dogfight again, because they have been season on season for the last few seasons. But I honestly don't see how, if you look at Everton's squad, it's not the greatest squad. Obviously, that's why they have the troubles they have every season. But I don't see how, when you look at that squad, you can look at a Leicester squad, you can look at a Southampton squad in particular, right, and say that they've got more or they're more capable than what Everton will be over the course of a season. I did leave out Ipswich. They're the ones you're suggesting you thought they looked quite good. I think that they're the one side out of the three that might be able to achieve something, because obviously they do play a bit of football. They are a little bit more, adventurous maybe. They're actually trying to win the games, etc. And that might serve them well. But honestly, who have they signed? Calvin Phillips they brought in, haven't they? I think on loan. Right, another sort of fairly marquee signing for them that they've made. I can't quite remember who it is, but along those lines, they might be a little bit more set to be that one side that can obviously disrupt the apple cart and take one of those other 17 sides on and obviously finish above them. But I'm personally calling it right here, right now. The three sides that came up, I think they'll be the three sides that go down.
Nah, not Leicester for me. I think Leicester. Yeah, back onto Liverpool.
What's your view on them?
I was surprised because I saw them in pre-season and I saw them against us in pre-season, and they was like doing this like possession football. It weren't like this one ball over the top, boom. And when I watched them on the weekend, it's like they just reverted. The first half, it was like they just reverted straight to back to what they know, like the clock football. It was just one ball, like one ball up. So I was kind of like surprised the way they set up. But then the second half, they kind of, I don't know what Arnie Slot said to them, but it's like they kind of started to play a bit more football and it looked way better second half. But first half, I don't know. I feel like they kind of got lost in the Klopp era.
Okay, fair point. Can I suggest, for example, you've just spoken about Ipswich. You said you thought that they look okay, and you think 100% they'll be one of the three sides that come up to stay up. But could we look at it that maybe in that first half, Ipswich first day back, right? Literally first game back in the Premier League for some time. Great big occasion for the club, the team, the fans. Right, everyone's right at it for that first 15, 20 minutes. They're closing down. They've got that extra bit of zip, that extra bit of pace. Right, they're obviously getting about Liverpool, and then all of a sudden, once that sort of like wears off a little bit, they have the breather at half time. They've got to half time at 0-0, but Liverpool have basically taken their best without any real troubles or any real pain. Come out the second half, stepped it up a little bit. Players literally only half a game, right? Things change for players, especially that first moment of when the first whistle goes, that bit of adrenaline, it's been sucked from you a little bit. Then the quality steps up. And I'm not suggesting I think that Liverpool are absolutely streamlined and ready to go this season, but they have got some quality, haven't they? And that takes over. That takes over the game. And I think they took the game away from Ipswich fairly easily. I did watch the second half of that game. Fortunately, didn't watch the first. But for me, Liverpool it was quite visible. They took control, I thought, and basically they put Ipswich away with ease from that point.
Yeah, no, Liverpool definitely took control, but I thought it was going to be more like, I don't know. I expected Liverpool to just kind of run them over, if you get what I mean. I didn't expect
these first half of games, mate. I think sorry, mate, I didn't have it on airplane. That's no good. Let me sort that now.
You're good. Yeah, with the Liverpool, yeah, I thought they were just gonna run them over, and it didn't turn out like that. So, yeah, you're back. So yeah, but I weren't. It weren't worrying.
First half of games for me, you see it most weeks, right? Literally in the Premier League over the last few seasons. Quite often, there's there might have been a goal nicked by somebody, but quite often it's 0-0 at half time because all sides have got that level of organisation, that level of what's the best way to put it? A bit of thrust, bit of like they're up for the start of the game, and obviously they cancel each other out for a while, but then the quality starts to take over and starts to take control of the game. And I think that in terms of Ipswich, that's what you're going to see. I think if I didn't watch the first half, you're telling me you quite like the look of them and you think that they'll be okay. Personally, if they're having a bit of the game in, say, the first half against Liverpool, they have to score because otherwise they're going to get taken out once by the time the game's, and that is basically what happened at the weekend. That's no disgrace. Let's face it, Liverpool are pretty much a nailed on top four side this year, potentially second or third if they really get it together. Who knows? But in terms of one thing else you've mentioned at the start, mate, regarding the Klopp team, or everyone's seen him as a Klopp team for so long, and obviously the success he had there to some degree. As I understand it, Arne Slot's a lot more possession-based. He wants to play through the pitch a little bit. Under Klopp, they were definitely, like, on the transition and on the counter-attack, they were absolutely lethal, weren't they? And they were set up that way. So there's a fair old change there that players are going to have to get used to. But for the time being, I've got a few mates that are Mickey Mousers, and I'm not going to go too much. I don't want to talk too much about it anyway. So shall we move on? The next game was actually your lot, and you covered it.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
I didn't get to see any of it. I did catch up a little bit with Match of the Day, and I did see obviously your goals, etc. But Match of the Day, to say it's highlights is an understatement. You don't get to see much of what's going on, do you? But tell me all about it. How did it go?
Yeah, it was an easy game, man. Literally. I would say they only threatened probably once, I would say, and that was the header that Saliba was just a bit too short on.
I did catch that. Yeah, it was a decent header, and it actually appeared to me to be quite a good save from Maya. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was a banging save. It was, yeah.
I mean, it's
Raya, though, isn't it?
In my opinion, that was quite some save, to be fair.
But it's Raya, though. It's not, like when you've got a keeper, right? And you expect this stuff. You don't really, do you get what I mean? Like, you see, hold on. You see, like your keeper.
Oh,
Like
please don't.
Hold on. If he makes a good save, it's like, but
We
right,
need a Sicario to take out Vicario. That's what we need. We need him gone already. The guy's an absolute, like, literally liability every time he gets the ball. Having said that, he's not the worst shot stopper in the world. But anyway, we'll get on to all of that in time. But
yeah.
You've signed. That's you. You've actually taken it away as your player now, isn't it? You signed him in the summer.
Yeah.
He's your player. I'm obviously Arteta wants you to play football to a certain degree. The distribution from Raya is the key aspect, no doubt. I don't really know how I feel about him in terms of his overall goalkeeping. No doubt with the ball at his feet, great ping, great strike, can find a player from 20 yards to 60 yards. Right? It's like,
what ain't you sure of?
Quality with the ball at his feet. Overall, let's just say I'm not sold on him, but the way that Arteta's obviously, he wants what he wants from his keeper. He's brought him in specifically and absolutely ditched Ramsdale. I mean, the guy's just been literally dropped like a bomb, hasn't he? But I mean, I reserve judgment on him overall, Raya. But tell me more. Your man Havertz, etc., etc.
Hey, you know already, my man. That's my man. Before any Arsenal fan was jumping on Havertz, yeah, you know, he is. That's my guy. Killer
But you've
Kai.
got the Havertz and the have-nots, haven't you? I mean, literally.
No, it's not no have-nots no more. It's never that. It's never that. It's literally, it's Havertz now. He's here, and you know what? I want a striker, but if the only way I'm happy is if we sign a winger, and then we keep Havertz. But if we don't sign a winger or a striker, I'm fuming. We got to sign one. We definitely got to sign one. We can't just go on, sir.
Well, you've been quite convinced that you're in for this guy Keres, or however it's pronounced, aren't you?
Oh, what, Gyökeres?
Gyökeres, okay, a guy Keres, Gyökeres, however you want to say it. So literally, you're pretty convinced that might be a deal that's sort of happening, or that's the one you'd like to see happen, yes?
You know what? I was convinced probably like a week, 2 weeks ago. And the longer this Moreno thing is stalling, and it's like we're literally haggling with like 5 million, bro.
But then that 5 million might make the difference in terms of if he does want to bring a striker in, and he's got a pot that he's got to stick within. I mean, we all know about these rules that have come in now regarding spending. So in terms of some deals, mate, they've obviously got to try and make sure they get their man for their price, because they've already got an outlay expected for this player or that player at the same time. So quibbling over that kind of money this day and age now, mate, now that the things have changed, I think you're going to see a lot of that, and that's why a lot of business either gets done immediately because sides know exactly what they're going to spend, and they bought their 2 players in, or they bought their 4 players in. But in your case, you spent quite a lot of money in the last few seasons, and obviously it's got you to the level that you're at. But if these are the next pieces of the jigsaw for Arteta, and in terms of, okay, he obviously wants Moreno, but can you actually afford to just go bang? Here's your money that you want. We'll take him. Everyone's got to do the penny pinching now, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Yeah, no, I'm sure we can, because like we must. Fair enough. I know all the homegrown. When you sell homegrown players and all that, it goes better for your FFP and all that. I don't know the stuff like how much we could spend and how much we can't. But I'm sure we could and if you remember, if we had a long period of literally not spending like anything over our actual like rev, we were literally selling players and then spending that and then making it look like, oh yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know how it works.
Over the years, me and you have been having the age-old argument, and I've given it to you a little bit. Obviously, the amount of money you've spent, you've still not won anything, but obviously you're getting closer and closer all the time, right? And as much as I like to give you the grief over it, the simple factor is that you're as well positioned as any other club to take on the club that is Man City, which obviously everybody's got to try to do or try to achieve. And you're the only ones at the moment who look close enough to maybe do that. But whichever ways it goes, if you can spend 150 million this year, I mean, what you spent so far, like you bought in about 65 million quid's worth, didn't you, so far, I think?
Yeah, we bought Calafuri
42 or whatever
and,
it bought it to be.
And Raya.
And Raya,
That
which was
will,
obviously the
yeah.
27 or whatever it was to
Yeah,
finalise that deal. And chances are you might have paid some of that up front for the loan deal initially. But either way, whatever you, so say you've got another 100 mil that you're prepared to spend, Catch, at the end of the day, to get in line with City, it's got to be like a 200 million spend near enough every year. And okay, you can maybe filter your squad out and get rid of some players, like you've obviously got rid of Smith Rowe, who's bought in a few quid. You're trying to get rid of Nketiah. That's going to help balance the books a little bit, so you can obviously stay within these financial constraints, which none of us seem to know what they are, do we? I mean, it's like Chelsea seem to spend as much money as they like. Right, whether or not they're staggering it over this year or that year or 50 years time, who fucking knows? I mean, it's insane.
With Chelsea, I feel like they know that they're gonna get a ban or something, and they're just going crazy because how the hell have like they've brought the world. Like literally, but Arsenal.
They're buying 10 players a season. It's insane, right? But this is the thing, mate. No one seems to know, right? Literally, everyone seems to have. I mean, for example, Wolves, who you played, no imports, for want of better words. Leicester, right, just bought this skip from us. How we've got the money we've got for him, I'll never know, right? But either way, let's not get off topic. There's a couple of clubs that haven't been able to spend at all because of their so-called constraints. Right, and it's well known that they're not particularly going to spend. They're probably going to spend next to nothing, right? So how are their constraints? How they are, and how are Chelsea's constraints? Just don't seem to have any. But there is something knocking about that Chelsea are going to face the historical charges, aren't they? So there's the City thing outstanding, but Chelsea, I think it's nailed on that they're going to get done in some way. But like you just said, maybe their owners just thought, there's no real so what's the punishment at the moment if you do get done for obviously overspending? Nobody seems to know. Yes, we've seen a few points deductions, etc., but no, it doesn't seem like it's too. It's not this. It didn't exactly knock Nottingham Forest or Everton too badly in the end last season, did it? I think. Yeah. I don't know, mate. Chelsea is. I've got no idea how they're able to spend the monies that they're spending. I don't know how they're structuring these deals. I mean, who does know this? Who does know the reality behind it? Are you any the wiser than I am?
No, that's my point.
Exactly.
Hold on.
They've just done another 47 million on Felix yesterday, haven't they?
Yeah, I don't know how much that one, but that's with a Gallagher deal, so I don't know if it's
they're offsetting that one a little bit, yes, but again, we don't know the exact amounts. But either way, it's like another 40 or another 50 or another, it's just like every other day. However they're structuring these deals, or if there's something that they're just ignoring and they don't give a shit what's going to come their way in due course. They just want to get everything done now, so they've got their best part of two first teams that they want to have at the club. But we're all seeing it across all the big media outlets. There's they've got something like 44 playing staff, 44 player playing staff. I mean, yeah. Sterling's in the news saying he's very unhappy. What's going on? I don't know what's he knows he's probably on the way out, but is that about him getting paid his money? Who knows? I'm stunned by what Chelsea have done. I've got no idea how they're able to do it, right? And I don't know what the rulings are or what the restrictions are, because it doesn't seem to apply to them, does it?
Hump, my cousin just come in the chat and he said, "Please talk about Saka."
Listen, I saw you, right? Literally, you guested on a show the other night. I saw you, and you for the first time I've heard the words come out your mouth that you're not his biggest fan, and that potentially he could be a little bit more of this or he could be a little bit more of that. For me, in the modern day era, Saka is the kind of player that the game has produced. I'm not going to turn around and say that I think he's a weak player or a poor player. He's a very decent player for Premier League level. He's even turned it on for England from time to time. But England, whenever they play anybody decent, nobody plays well for England, because that's when they struggle, right? Especially under Southgate. But thankfully he's gone. But to stay on Saka, I'm not his biggest fan, to say the least. I think he's I think he's a very fortunate young man to be having the career in football that he's having, because, in my opinion, there's a lot of far better footballers out there, right? That he's basically looking better than, and I think there's certain reasons and certain factors behind that. Arsenal are Arteta sets you up in a certain fashion, and there's no doubt about it. In my opinion, Saka benefits from that massively. But if I'm honest, because you tend to play through him as much as you do, and you've got the players like Odegaard, Ben White backing him up, supporting him, creating space for him, the angles, all that sort of stuff, making things a lot, I wouldn't say easier, because Premier League football is still Premier League football, but things are set up so that Saka is maximised as much as possible. And if I'm honest, I think he should probably be delivering more than he does. But then, how old is he now, Catch? 23, 24?
24, yeah, 23, 24.
Okay, you talked to me. We spoke for years about it. He's producing good numbers, right? But I'm going to say this early, and it's probably going to become my catchphrase, right? When me and my wife have sex, she orgasms every time, right? But that doesn't make me a good shag, right? It's as simple as that, right? So Bukayo Saka scores goals, right? Gets his assists. I don't think he gets anywhere near as many assists as he should, but it doesn't make him a great player. That's it.
Your quality. Your quality.
For me, don't get me wrong. Listen, the guy's dangerous. What he does well, he does very well, right? But I think there's lots of weaknesses to his game, right? I mean, the cross for the goal. That's the kind of cross I want to see him delivering 5, 6, 7 times a game. And that's the kind of cross that, when that kind of cross is delivered, bang, it's in the back of the net. Because a good player like Havertz, I don't think he's as great as people make him out to be, or you're starting to talk about him, but he's great at arriving in the right positions at the right time. And if the ball is put in that should be, bang, that's what you get. That goal, you can't argue with that goal. Quality delivery. Great, easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy finish, but it's a good finish, because it's easy to get your head onto a ball like that. You can attack it because it's in exactly the place where you want it to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I've just seen the message come up now.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's just come up now. None of that was available to me beforehand. But is that a direct question in terms of regarding Saka? I don't think you can argue with. The one thing you've always come back at me with is his numbers, and I don't think you can argue with his numbers. I don't think you can. So in terms of what he's produced up to this point, yeah, I mean, I don't think you could really say, like, literally, he's had 16 assists or 23 goals, whatever they might be. He should have had 30 assists, or he should have had 30 goals. That's what I sort of said just a moment ago. But having said that, that kind of return every year from one player, that's the kind of level that all players want to try and be at, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think, and like you've always come back at me whenever I give you he's a one-trick pony and all this sort of stuff, right? Literally, you're right. His numbers can't be argued with. But then I'd go a step further with someone like Salah. The geezer's numbers are insane. They are absolutely insane. But yet I'd also question what it is that he brings to the team in other ways, and he could potentially be even better, even stronger, even more effective. But then how can I be sat here saying that about Salah with the numbers that he's turned out over the last 10 years? I mean,
and then it's the same argument with like Haaland as well. You're like, oh, he don't do this, he don't do that, but the guy had broke the Premier League record.
How many times do they talk about it when the game's on? Right, literally, he's touched the ball once this half, right, or he's touched the ball 3 times, like, since he scored, right? I mean that, but this is where I'm a little bit of an older generation when it comes to football, and as far as I see it, I want more from my players across the board, every single position. But the modern day game has become more specific in terms of Haaland gets his goals, he delivers what City want. But as far as I see it, I'd want more from my centre forward, and I'm sure Pep probably does as well. But I don't think that's just not Haaland's game, is it? What's the question?
Yeah. He says you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You didn't say a number. You said Saka should have better numbers.
Okay, right, I'll answer the question directly. Saka, for me, for the way that he plays for Arsenal and how Arsenal play to maximise him, I'd be wanting to see somewhere between 20 and 25 goals a season, right? And definitely right, I'd say 15 to 25 assists. I think that's, I mean, that for any winger, they're very good numbers. How many times has he made those numbers?
What numbers did those? Say that again. I was reading that.
Well, how many times has Saka hit over 20 goals in the league? So let's be a bit kinder than that, because he is a winger. How many times has Saka hit over 15 goals a season? Twice.
Hold on. Let me get up for you.
Let's look it up. Let's have it right.
How many goals did you say?
I'd like to see him, Saka. I'd like to see him be producing 20 to 25 goals a season. Right, because
he's never got 20.
No, okay, but then I don't think that there's anything too wrong with that being 24 years of age. And he might have got 18 one season, 16 another. It's not like he's a million miles away, is he?
His best scoring season is 16 in the Prem.
So 16, he plays near enough every minute, doesn't he? I noticed that Arteta took him off against Wolves with 10 minutes to go this time. He didn't bleed him dry. But, he plays near enough every second every minute of every game, doesn't he? So what can I say? The question is, you know me, I'm very harsh, I'm very critical of footballers, and it's going to be that way. If you guys are watching, it's always going to be that way.
He asked you a question.
I think he's got to score 20 goals a season. That's his level. In terms of assists, I think you've got to be looking at, I didn't get to watch all of your game. As I've already said, I had work commitments. It really on my nerves that I've missed most of the opening weekend of the season, but so be it. What else did he deliver in terms of any kind of cross-making, any kind of other look like what could be assist? Did he create any other good chances, Saka, in the game?
Yeah. No, Saka was man of the match. I'm not gonna, even though Havertz scored and assisted, and he scored and assisted. Havertz, he was more of the vital part of the team. If he weren't there, Havertz don't score, kind of thing. Do you get what I mean? And if Havertz ain't there, he still scores that goal that he scores. So for me, he was definitely man of the match. I ain't gonna take that away from him. He was
Mr. Trees at 27 to 30, he will do that, will he? He'll be hitting 20 goals a season. Right? Has he got to do the chip challenge, right, for that? Right, literally. Now that I like, Mike, right? Bam, literally. Saka is not world class. That I agree with that, and I've had that with you all the time, Jay. And you are catching, you know the same. You've sort
but wait, what's my argument? I've always said until right now he's just world. He's just like world. Until we win something, that will put the class onto him. That will put it there. Like you can't deny him. If we win the Prem or Champions League, it's done. He's what, and don't go to the Foden thing. With Foden, it's kind of different, yeah? He's still not world-class yet.
Listen, that's an argument we've had raging for years, right? No doubt everyone can obviously, they can share in that at some point in the very near future. For me, Foden is just, the talent speaks for itself. Saka, I don't think...
But hold on, is Foden world-class?
I don't really get involved in the world class shout, because as far as I see it, there's only I'd answer it in a different way. What truly is world class? We've had Messi, we've had Ronaldo, etc., etc. I think you could make an argument that Ronaldo turned himself into a footballer, whereas Messi, he already had the gifts already. That's how I'd sum those two players up, and that's the point I'm getting at. For Saka,
let me just quick. Sorry, Hum. Let me quickly answer to this. He said, "Yeah, he won everything at club level." Scott Carson's won everything at club level as well. Does that make him world class?
Who does Bamp support? Catch?
He supports Liverpool.
Does he? Okay. All right. So he's talking about he thinks Foden is world class because he's won everything at club level. Right. Well, if he's turning around to us now and saying that basically winning things makes you world class, straight away I'd have a problem with that, right? Because it's not about winning things; it's about what you produce as a player during a game, in a match, week in, week out. That's what I think is what makes someone world class, not what they win. However,
hold on, and what you win in, you say, they go for the Premier League. If you are vital in that Premier League run, do you get what I mean? You can't just be, you was a sub and No, you've got to have like De Bruyne for me. Every time City have won the Prem, there's been a time of the season where De Bruyne has literally carried City. Do you get what I mean?
I get your point, and I would tend to agree. I don't think anybody can argue of the qualities that De Bruyne brings to any match that he plays in, right? Or I mean, the guy is superb, right? But I, in terms of answering a question on Foden, personally, I think he's one of the best players in the world. Yes, I think he's got everything that I want to see in a footballer. His ability is superb. But then I'd turn around and give us counter argument in terms of Saka. I don't put him in that bracket or at that level, nowhere near it for his actual, just his footballing ability. However, he's a little bit like we discussed earlier. Salah's numbers you can't argue with, right? You cannot argue with. But then I still don't think that Salah is the greatest footballer that there's ever been. And I tend to put that in the same as like Saka in a similar bracket. Saka gets involved in everything that seems to go on. I don't know how, because it pisses me off, right? But the guy seems to be involved in everything that goes right, and when it seems to all go right for him, and you can't argue with that. So obviously the guy's got talent. You can't. I'm not denying that. But for me, when I see him turn onto that left foot and he puts a crossover, and I see him hit 20 yards past everybody, and it goes out for a goal kick, right, or whatever, every player makes mistakes, and not every single cross or every pass is perfect. But what I'm trying to get at, or what I'm trying to get across, is I see that 6-7 times out of Saka, out of every 10 that he tries to put a crossover. Whereas if he was top notch, you'd be seeing it the other way around. 6 or 7 would be delivered exactly where you want it out of 10, rather than it being the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But then to counter that, you could say, raw, where everything is going through him. Yeah, this guy must be like, like sometimes you get the ball and you might pass it round to catch your breath. You be like, yo, let me lay that up. I need some breath. Do you get me? But everything is going down the right, so he don't get no time to rest. So I can't blame him for, if you're saying crosses, I can't really say, oh yeah,
I'm not.
crosses.
Hold on. Let's make sure we don't get fixated on. It's not just about crosses. For me, his first touch isn't good enough a lot of the time. He receives the ball. He doesn't take the ball well enough. Literally, he lets defenders get in at him, and the good defenders deal with him with ease. When he plays against half the Muppets, right, that he does come up against in the Premier League, he rinses the floor with them, right, to some degree. But as far as I see it, good players that are half sensible, that can actually play the game properly, they tend to keep him quiet quite easily. That's my opinion.
My cousin literally
Mr. Trees, his head exploded. So is he
said
he's like you?
Cuz, please, what's the stream? I need to join. Okay, he wants to join.
Yeah, bring him in.
Cuz, hold on. I'm gonna send it to you right now. Give me
Is he a goonie? Is he a goonie catch?
Yeah. Okay. He's always a goonie. What do I send him? Oh yeah. Hey, send me a message, Cuz. Send me a message right now. Just send me a normal message and I'll send you the link. But yeah, you got.
See, we were meant to be covering everybody, and it's got boom on Arsenal, and it bang, bang, bang. We ain't even got to Tottenham yet. Oh my lord.
Yeah, you do. StreamYard. I told you to download it. Have you not got it? If you ain't got it, then you're a madman. See, this is my point. It's there if you got it, innit? But
tell him to get set, and he can come in and have it with me anytime he likes.
No, it's there. He's gonna join, but he's probably gonna download the app. And you got it. Bet. It's about to go off. Yeah, look, Jitsu. Hey, you got him mad with I rate Saka. He loves Saka. Like,
but see, all you goonies love him, and rightfully so, because he's your darling, isn't he? I've said this to you over the years. He's your darling, and he. I like
Martinelli over him.
You what?
I still like Martinelli over him, and I'm not taking
in terms of all-round game and what both players are capable of. I don't think there's any competition who's the better footballer of the two. I think Martinelli is the far better footballer. However, Saka has that knack of producing better or higher numbers. Literally, I don't even know how to put it. It mystifies me because I honestly.
It's because everything. everything is focused down that side, so you're gonna look better. That's my point. So
Exactly,
now,
and that is a key factor. But then, having said that, if that was truly the case, surely it would be a lot easier to stop Arsenal if you thought about it as the opposing coach or the opposing side, the opposing manager. If you know most of the attacks come down the right hand side, which they do tend to, right, literally, but it's the way that you've got the quality of Odegaard. And no one's ever going to tell me the guy ain't mustard. Right, the guy is a superb footballer. The guy's a superb footballer, right? Hey, now you've got Rice backing it up, etc., etc., etc. So, but the point is,
my captain.
I'm everything I've read from Bamp so far. This guy, he seems to talk it the way that I see it, right? And I totally agree. Saka is overrated. However, his numbers can't be argued with. And like I say, my catchphrase, do I need to say it again? Right, I ain't the greatest shag in the world. Right, but my missus has a good time. But either way, what's happening with the cuz? Is he on? Is he coming? What's happening?
He's probably downloading it. Just keep going, innit? If he flies in, he flies in.
What's he got? Has he got a dial-up modem or something?
But yeah, he's on one.
Listen, this is a topic. Tell him he's not missing out on anything. This is a topic that will go all season. Me and you have argued about it for 3 years solid, so there's no way it's going away. Bamps, I love the point of view, mate. I agree wholeheartedly. But then I think you have to take your hat off to the fact of the numbers that are being produced. You can't deny them.
He's here.
He's here, is he?
He's here. Hold on. Tell me when you're ready, cuz. Put a thumbs up. I can see you. You can't see. All right, he's ready. All right, boom.
Can you hear me?
Hello, cuz.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, not one of those.
I don't know where your conversation stopped here, but the last thing I heard you say was Saka doesn't have a good first touch.
Okay, that might have been a bit harsh. I didn't mean that he can't control the ball ever. I just feel that his touch lets him down. Carry on.
If you don't double team, triple team Saka, you lose the game.
I don't really know if I would look.
No matter what team we're playing against, if you don't double team or triple team Saka, you lose the game. The goal was evident. That was the first time he got the ball, 1-on-1 with the defender. He went right, he went left, he banged it near post. This guy at 23 years old is doing absurd things. We haven't seen too many 23-year-olds like, and I know when we compare him to these players, so I get the whole thing where you say about Mo Salah with Saka. They're not the most on the eye, flary players, but their production with the ball is second to none. So in a team, you might have a guy that does 100 step overs and he looks and he gets you off your feet. But when it's time to cut the ball back to a person, Doku for me. Doku's a prime example of this. Doku on the ball at Man City, he looks amazing. When he gets the ball, he dribbles past 2-3 people. But when it's time for him to get his head up and actually put a decent ball in the box, it doesn't exist.
Right. I'm going to answer straight to Doku first.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Catch will tell you. Right. I told him within 15, 20 seconds of watching Doku, no way. Guy has literally, it's like he's like a headless chicken. Yes, he's got unbelievable pace. Yes, he can be blistering over 5-10 yards. Right. But the end product, 0. Right. And it's near enough every time. Right, literally, he's going to be one of those players. He'll score an absolute rocket, right? That'll have everybody talking, but that will be the only thing he'll do for the entire season. Right, the rest of the time he'll trip over the ball, he'll fall over. He literally, I mean, watching him against Chelsea, the amount of times a little 5-yard pass where he's laying back. He's the player whoever
he's got time to stop.
Had to run 3 yards to the side because it's not accurate enough.
I totally agree with you.
I agree wholeheartedly on Doku. However, the guy has got, I mean, listen, if Pep can turn him into a footballer, right? Pep's as good as there is out there, right? Literally, if he can turn him into a footballer, right, then I'd be amazed because I personally feel he doesn't have it in the first place and you can only coach so much. And he is not good enough footballer to turn him into a world beater. Back on now to get on to Saka. For me personally, I look at him and you say...
Can I ask you one question before you say anything else? Can I ask you one thing?
Please, can.
Do you think, you have a bit of Spurs bias within your analysis of Saka because you support Tottenham?
I'd like if when you hear me speak about Tottenham, that'll get blown out of the water within seconds because I'm not biased in terms of Tottenham. I understand your point of view. I'm a Tottenham fan. Am I pissed off that Arsenal are having it off lately and doing a lot better? Right? Literally, I understand the point. I'd like to think that my point of view is my point of view solely, no biasness. It's an opinion based on what I see in front of me, whether or not he's an Arsenal player, Liverpool, Tottenham, West Ham, doesn't make any difference. When I look at a player, I see a good player or I see a player which I don't think is as good as what he's made out to be. And personally, in the Premier League, that statement there, players who are made out to be better than they are, I think you're talking in the region of 65 to 70% of these kind of players. I don't think many of them are anywhere near worth the hype that's made out about them. But that's my harsh opinion and view on the game in terms of what I see or what I want to see from players. Now, to get onto the Saka argument, I'm not going to deny, right? I played the game myself and I played to quite a good level. I signed with both Fulham and Reading, and I was a central midfielder. And I'd like to think my game was about passing, creating for other players. I was strong in the tackle, that sort of stuff. But I was a little bit like, no way am I trying to say I'm as good as Declan Rice, but that was the kind of player that I was. Right? A little bit of everything. So I would want to have wingers with pace, trickery. Literally, I would want to be able to bring players like that into the game. And honestly, if Saka was in my team, right, playing alongside me, right, I know I'd get some sort of return, right, when I laid the ball out to him, but I'd also be very, very mindful of the fact that I'd be having to cover from where he'd lost the ball, where the ball had bounced off of him, etc., etc., etc. Now, this is a very harsh view on how I'm coming across. I'm sort of like, the way I look at the game, I break up every single aspect and I try and analyse absolutely everything. And I want some level of perfection. Your manager, Arteta, I think is very, very similar. And I personally feel the best way I can answer this argument is I personally feel in the next 2 seasons, there's a strong chance that Arteta might know that Saka is one of the players that might need to be replaced to get you to the promised land, for want of better words. That's the best way I can argue it.
Okay.
Now, I know that if Catcher said that you're a fan of him, when you say about his first, your first comment was he needs to be doubled up, otherwise you're going to lose the game. Nathan Ake doesn't have any problems, pretty much any problems dealing with Saka, right? I think
we beat Man City last season. They didn't beat us. Just to let you know that
you might have beaten them 1-0.
So in a one game scenario, every footballer in the world can come up against one defender that just has your number. But as a consistent basis, okay, you can name last season Ake and that guy that Man United signed from Bayern Munich. Yeah. There's not another 2 defenders that lock Saka up.
I wouldn't disagree with that point because, like I say, I think there's a lot of players out there that are they're very fortunate to be making a living at the game at the top level, in my opinion.
I just want to ask you, so who are your 3 best right wingers in the world currently at the moment?
The 3 best right wingers in the world at the moment?
Yeah.
Good question.
Because then that will let me know, or we can even go 5 if 3 is too small. But then that will let me know, where your mind is at and what type of winger you like and you're looking at for where you're trying to put Saka.
In all fairness, right, and I don't think I'm sort of copping out by saying it this way, not many sides play with out-and-out wingers anymore. Right? That's
inside, forward, whatever you want to call them, strikers, exactly. Along the line, whatever.
For me personally, I've had the conversation with Catch before. This is going to sound a little bit conflicting, right? As if I'm basically saying one thing and then saying another. But the guy at Real Madrid, what's his name? The Brazilian, the left side player.
Vinicius
Junior.
Yes.
I would say that he's like a slight upgrade on Saka, right?
Yes.
As in, when he gets the ball, he can produce moments. His numbers are pretty decent, but I'd actually say he's a very similar player, as in he might frustrate you 3 times out of 5 or 6 times out of 10 because the touch isn't quite right. He falls over the ball or he stumbles or whatever, right? This literally in recent times, right? His numbers, obviously, they're always good, but in recent times, he seems to have improved upon those. But that's the kind of player I think we're dealing with when you bring... I'm going to answer your question. That's the kind of player I think that you're bringing into the game nowadays in the last 5 years. I don't think wingers truly exist anymore, but Saka is one of the more, he's more one of the more out and out wingers that there are in the game. For me to answer your question, Phil Foden, right? Literally. Musiala.
So you think Phil Foden and Musiala as wingers are better than Saka?
No, not as wingers. I'm
as
talking
inside
about
forwards. As inside forwards.
They're the kind of attack-minded players that I prefer to see. Right, whereas they're not wingers. Saka is an out-and-out winger. I mean, the guy stands right in the right wing position near enough all game. Doesn't particularly track back much. Doesn't have to, because the way that Arteta has you set up, he allows for him being the target or the out ball on many occasions. Or as soon as you're up,
there has to be a reason. There has to be a reason that he's that guy. So like, we don't see Mbappe track back. We didn't see Messi track back. We don't see Ronaldo track back. 100%. We don't see Salah track back. But it all comes.
No, I'm not knocking that.
All of them things come at a like advantage or disadvantage. So we want you to save your energy because on the attack we need you to do something. If you're forever running back, when it's time to attack, you don't do it. So that's the double-edged sword that you're gonna have.
And that's another factor of the modern day game that has been enabled right in probably the last 5 to 10 years. Some players, they get, because they might be able to produce in this way or that way, managers are more than prepared to have them as a bit of a luxury. No,
but we always had luxury players. Like Dennis Bergkamp is one of my favorite players ever, but he never tracked back. Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, but he was a centre forward basically, wasn't he? Or just
but that's what they are. They're free centre forwards now.
Well, yes, to a degree. So, like to say, when you ask the question, let me just get back onto your question. When you ask the question of who's a better winger, that's why I don't think I can answer it, because there aren't many out-and-out wingers. We're talking about the whole forward line. That's what I was edging towards. You've just said it for me. Forward players now, they are pretty much, that's all they are. A lot of sides are playing 3 up front. They're playing 4-3-3, or they're even playing 3-4-3. Like City tend to play 1-6-4, well 1-6-1-6-3. Sorry, it's like, I mean, literally that's the way the game has progressed and where it's the direction it's moved into. So in terms of an out-and-out winger, that's why I said to you, I might have to go historical. I don't think there are many out-and-out wingers in the game, but Saka is probably one of the very few. But for me, what I want to see, I mean, Tottenham. Let's bring Tottenham into the equation. We seem to buy, or under Ange so far, we bought about 75 wingers. It seems every player that we buy seems to be a winger, right, or a wide player, stroke wide attacker, stroke wide midfielder. Brennan Johnson, useless, right? Timo Werner has actually got some technical ability, but not good enough, right? Doesn't produce it, right? Yes, you might be able to rely on him to receive the ball reasonably well, but he can't finish, right, etc., etc. Right?
No footballing IQ. Right? He makes the wrong decision 9 times out of 10.
Exactly that. We've got Son, obviously, been great over a certain period of time in terms of the same thing, delivering his numbers, but yet I'm very, very critical of Son. His first touch is awful. Right, a lot of the time. If he's running onto the ball, right, because we've suddenly got the ball back from a defensive scenario and we're obviously on the attack, the counter-attack, transition is the new buzzword in football, right, literally, right, then Sonny is reasonably capable. But yet you pass him the ball where he receives the ball, where he's faced up by a player, chances are he'll miscontrol it and he doesn't necessarily go nowhere. We've just watched him last night. Lots of complaints that he's suddenly lost his pace or he can't blast past the player. Right, so it's half of his game has changed, and I'm not so sure that he's going to be that effective this season. But to answer your direct question, if I want a forward line, I want my players, right, to be able to receive the ball in all kind of scenarios, right, literally link up play, right, literally pace is obviously a key factor of the modern day era. Right, and I want to see a certain brand. I mean, I've had it with Catch before, and you're going to piss yourself when I say this, right? But for me, Jack Grealish is a far better footballer than Saka is. Right? That doesn't necessarily mean right. His numbers.
Can I ask you something though? Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go on.
Do you know, like you said, you've played the game, yeah? So like there's a lot of men that can do skills and do flip flaps and round the world, yeah. But when you actually put them on a football pitch, yeah, they can't produce what they do in training and that, yeah. So you can look good on the eye, yeah, but if there is no end product or no production to it, yeah, I don't care what you're doing, big man. There's no way in hell that you can tell me that Saka got 25 GA last season. We were second in the league. That Jack Grealish that didn't kick a football is better than Saka right now. It's impossible for you to have that notion.
Didn't say right now. Right? I just said what I actually said is I think that Jack Grealish is a better all-round footballer than Saka. You're quite right in terms of what he produces or what he doesn't produce on the pitch is part of that argument and part of that equation. But what I want to see from a footballer, I just said it a little while ago, I want to be able to see him receive the ball, not their first touch be good. If it needs to go first time or if they need to take a touch, clip a ball in behind, dink it in behind, little bit of swerve on the pass, keep possession. They're the kind of players that I value, right, over a little bit of pace in the final third.
So then, all right. So yeah, just to bring it back to Jack Grealish.
Yeah. You're kicking in and out quite often. Is that your end or me, mate?
I think it might be me. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
But just for Jack Grealish, a lot of these players, that we're looking at now, have had time to learn their trade at a club where you're not in the spotlight. Jack Grealish was in the Championship, learning his trade, come to Premier League, already an established footballer, 25, 26 years old, make his move to Man City. Saka has been in this Arsenal team from a teenager. He hasn't never been on loan. He hasn't had an opportunity to learn. He's learning on the highest stage. And year in, from the moment he's come to this Arsenal team, he has improved his numbers year in, year out at a statistic advantage. Not like a small, okay, I've got 8 goals last season and now I've got 9 and I got 10. No, I got 6 and then I got 12 and then I got 15. Like, it's a big, consistent jump. So for me, there's not too many players that I can put next to him in terms of his trajectory of where he was to where he is now and where he could possibly end. It's okay that people might not like him visibly on the eye, but
I just to jump in, it's not that I don't like him on the eye, because the guy's got certain attributes which no matter how harsh or how critical you want to be, right, he produces, right? His pace, right, is a factor. It's a modern day factor which is more important in the game than it's ever been before. It's as if pace seems to be the most important thing now, and then we'll coach you the rest, or we'll try to coach you the rest. If you've got pace, we'll make use of that first.
But pace has always been a cheat code, even from before. Like, I can name a many of. When I think of a striker right now, Obafemi Martins, he was a cheat code. He was rubbish, but he was so fast that there was nothing you could do to stop it. So, for me, the one thing I can agree with you, and I will say this in the world, Saka doesn't have one defining, outstanding attribute. He is very good at a lot of different areas, but he's not like outstanding at one particular thing. And I feel like that's what makes players stand out. When you have that, like, if you're really fast, we will always notice that you're really fast. If you got a good first touch all the time, Bernardo Silva is just like glue. Mahrez out the sky, it's just there.
Foden, yes, exactly the same.
But then,
I listen. I like where you're coming from, right? Because it's not you're not being what's the word? This is a discussion. This isn't like literally. It's not a battle.
No,
right?
It's not a battle. But I just feel like Saka's one of the most disrespected footballers in football for this young youth, for what he is producing in the hardest league in the world. When you're saying you want 20 goals from him, like, 20 goals is a commodity in the Premier League. There's many a striker that are legendary Premier League strikers that didn't hit 20 goals on a regular basis.
Absolutely, and I'd be just as critical of them as what I would be of Saka. And yet, I'm not actually being very critical of Saka, because you can't deny his numbers. I've said that from the very beginning. There's no way you can't argue against something which is a fact. I personally feel, right, he is an overrated player. I personally feel he's actually a player that you can keep reasonably quiet if you've got half a brain as a defender, right, literally. And I would add a caveat to that, which is a lot of defenders don't these days, right? They're not that intelligent, right? I mean, let's face it, what side out there, your lot last year, until the last couple of games of the season, was the best defensive unit in the country, right? Now, as far as I see it, how many sides can actually defend properly these days? I mean, Man City, the best side around, won the league 5-6 times out of the last 7, whatever it is, right? How many chances do you get when you play against them? you do get chances.
Mm-hmm.
Because defense, the art of defending is as weak as it's ever been in my entire lifetime, and I'm touching on 50. Right. So the fact is I've watched a hell of a lot of football in my lifetime, and the art of defending has become less and less and less. Every single side is more. The emphasis is on attack, and I prefer that. I prefer it that way. Trust me, I prefer it that way. So as far as I see it, Saka. Let's put him up against the one player that he's near enough an identical replica of, right? In my opinion, which is Salah. Salah's possibly got a little bit more blinding pace off the first 5 yards, right? But they are an extremely similar style player. Now, let's look at their numbers up against one another.
But you can't look at Saka's numbers at 23 and look at Mo Salah's at 27 and try to compare them. Go and look at Mo Salah's numbers at 23 when he was at Fiorentina and Roma and not doing a damn thing in the world. That's when we can have the comparison. But wait, let me finish my point, because when you spoke, I didn't interrupt you. There's no way in there. Right now, you're talking about Salah in his prime, exiting his prime. Saka hasn't hit his prime yet.
I'm talking about Salah for a decade. So let's have it right. However old Salah is now, which I think you'll find he's like in 30, he's been doing it for a decade. So he can go back 10 years.
Salah wasn't scoring 20 league goals 10 years ago.
Sorry?
Salah wasn't scoring 20 league goals 10 years ago.
Literally, right? His career, right? I don't know how old Salah is. Salah is, right? But he must be around 30 now, right? He started right at Chelsea, yeah. Didn't really get looking. Got sent out to Roma, was it? Right, Klopp brought him in. How long's he been at Liverpool for now? 8 years?
No.
7, 8 years. It's got to be.
Yeah, he's been at Liverpool like 7 years. 7 years.
Okay, so as far so when I say a decade, right, literally maybe a little bit over exaggeration.
And Saka's been a first team player for 2 years.
Yeah, okay, but either way,
do you see the difference in what I'm trying to say to you, though?
Hold on, no, let's get it on concrete, right? So Salah's been at Liverpool for 7 years. Every single one of those years, right, his numbers have been insane.
Say that again? Yeah, his numbers have been insane. Salah's numbers have been insane at Liverpool every single year.
I said a decade because I was generalising. But if we're talking about Salah, he's been at Liverpool for, say, 7 years. If that's the correct amount of time he's been there, every single one of those years, his numbers have been insane. Now, the point is he is the only player, I think, that you can put up against Saka, right, as some sort of comparison, because they are very, very similar in terms of what's required from them for the team. As in, they can hold those like forward positions, not worry about anything else in the game, just make themselves available once the ball turns over and once their side is in possession. So Salah is the best person to put up against him. Now, again, I'm not a huge fan of Salah, right? But Salah's numbers in terms of goals and assists are probably close on double Saka's. Now, you're talking about is it like literally Saka be growing into a man in he's like 23, 24 now, right? As far as I see it, I honestly don't think you're going to see Saka's numbers get any better than what they are, and because they've always been pretty much the same. His breakthrough.
No, they haven't. That's what I'm saying. Every year on year, his numbers have drastically improved, and this season, I'll bet you right now that Saka gets 20 Premier League goals this season.
You're saying he will get 20 Premier League goals this season?
Saka will get 20 Premier League goals this season.
Okay, so I turn around and say he won't.
Okay, we'll be here to have this argument again. Don't worry. Perfect, so we'll see. When he gets 20, I'm just saying, let me finish because I'm going to go now. When he gets his 20, I just want you to put the respect on his name that he deserves. Even if Arsenal don't win anything, I don't want you to say, oh, but you didn't win anything, but you got 20. I want you to acknowledge that he got 20.
This request you're making here, you will get your request, right?
Thank you.
But only if a miracle occurs, because he's not going to score 20 league goals.
All right then. Well, he got 16 last year, so he's only 4 off. So he don't take too many.
Just before you go, one of the things you said I don't agree with. You said that his numbers have improved massively each year on year. I don't think they have. I think they've been in about the same vicinity.
Kaz, I beg you pull up Saka's numbers for the Premier League for the last 3 years for me, Kaz. Because you know Saka's my guy and I don't talk, but I can't do it because I'm on the phone, innit?
So, okay. The last 3 years.
Yeah.
So last year he got...
No, start at the third year. Start at the third year and work your way up to last year.
Okay, third year 38 games, 11 goals, 7 assists.
17 goal
7-11.
contribution.
7-11, easy
So-
to remember.
Season
That's-
22-23, 38 games, 14 goals, 11 assists.
Mhm.
That's a big jump again.
I don't
Mhm.
think
So
that's a big. I don't see how that's a big jump anyway. But carry on.
hold on. And then last
Last
season he got 35 games. So remember, he didn't play the 38. He got 35 games and 16 goals, 9 assists.
9 assists, right? So basically, right, that means in his we're talking about the three previous years. That
Mhm.
first year, 3 years ago, 18 GA, right?
Mhm.
25, right, and 25. Right, so
Mhm.
it's 18, 25, and 25. Right,
Mhm.
so that's only a jump.
Hold
one
on,
year
Ham.
of 7.
Hold on. You got to take into consideration as well that the last season he only played 35.
Yeah, but there's
And-
there's 3 games difference. I'm sorry, only 3 games. I don't see as that's that big a difference. Right? If it's
Okay,
only
you can
3
go on,
games,
make your
that's
point now.
fine. But then in
Mhm.
terms of his numbers, so you said that
Mhm.
there's been a great improvement year on year. For the last 2 years, the GA
Mhm.
return, that's goals and assists, it's
Mhm.
identical, 25. The year
Mhm.
before that, it was 18. I don't
Mhm.
consider that 7 GA is that big a jump, right? For the statement that you made, which was his numbers are increasing year on year, right? Literally, like vastly increasing.
But
Now,
seven
don't see that as
more
vastly increasing.
more GA from where he is now breaks your 20 goals. That's my point. So it doesn't have to be a
No.
massive jump. Yeah. I'm saying to you, year on year, he's making a steady improvement in whatever area you deem that you feel like you want to, whether it's goals, whether it's assists. He's not declining. He's going up.
Yeah, but hold on. So now that you said that, that was my overall point. That's something you
Mhm.
hear me agree with. I think his numbers are the same as they've always been, and they will always remain there because I don't think, and this is the key factor with Saka, I don't think he's actually got any better. I just think he stayed where he's been, and I don't think he's got the ability to get better.
Oh,
He
okay,
will
so
stay in the same area.
even
That's my opinion.
even if that's the case, yeah,
Yeah.
you must think then that other players in the Arsenal team are gonna get better, right?
I think you've got 4 or 5 fantastic
So
players.
so whoever
Saka's
you
not
think
one
are
of
the 4 or 5 fantastic players at Arsenal, them getting better this season, next season is evidently gonna give Saka more chances.
Absolutely.
So even if he
but that
stays at
doesn't mean-
this
that
exact
doesn't
same way,
mean-
even if he stays at this exact same level, if those 5 guys that you're saying get better, he's gonna have more chances. Therefore, he's gonna score and assist more. Just staying at this level, just by having more.
I disagree with that logic because I don't think he's good enough to take the chances in the first place. So it doesn't matter how many he gets. That's the logic. That's my opinion on Saka. Right, literally, Rice, fantastic player. Right, Odegaard, fantastic player. Saliba, fantastic player. Right, literally, right. There's a couple of others that you can reel off, but whichever ways it goes, what they do for Arsenal, right, is going to benefit Arsenal. However, whether or not that means that Saka's going to get 20 extra chances on the season, as far as I'm concerned, those 20 extra chances, Saka's had them already. And I don't think he's good enough to take advantage of them before, and he's not going to be good enough to take advantage of them in the future. No
It's
matter
all
how
right,
many
man.
more he
When we
gets.
play Spurs and he scores at the lane again, don't worry. Don't worry, man. It's all right.
What kind of recommendations that comes? Come on.
For me, that he could be rubbish all season. You see, if Saka comes to your piss pot and scores, you can't come in there and talk to me at the side of your mouth. You have to just say, do you know what? He done his job again, innit, big man? You understand?
Listen. Saka will score you your goals and your assists throughout this season, like he always has done. That's not denied. I've stated, I've gone on record. You've made your request, which I'll deliver if it occurs.
Yeah, most definitely.
I am going on record again to end this subject. 25 goal or GAs, right, in the last 2 seasons Saka's had, right? That is where I think his limit is. Right, literally 25 to 30 maximum. I don't see him ever going beyond those kind of numbers.
And 30 GA for a winger is that's what we need. 20 goals, 10 assists. 20 assists, 10 goals. I don't care which way it comes.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. It was 25, not 30. It was 25 the last 2 seasons. Right, literally 14 and 11. Right, 16 and 9 last year. Right, so it was 11-7 before that. Now I'd say he possibly had around the same the 2 years before that. He's been on the scene for about 5 seasons now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Right, literally in the side. I take my hat off to him playing for one of the top sides week in, week out. He is a key element of the side. But for me personally, I think he's one of your weak elements. That's how I see him. Now, you may well argue with that, right? For me, if you lose Rice or if you lose Odegaard, right, these kind of players, then you hurt. If you lose him, right, or you choose to replace him, right, literally, I don't think you get hurt anywhere near as bad. That's my opinion, because he only brings what he brings over the course of a season. I don't think he's going to improve upon those numbers. So what you want me to do, right, is give him his props and give him his respect at the end of the season if he's hit 20 league goals, yeah? Everything that's spoken on here, I'll give my word. I'll give him his props. I'll give him his respect. Right, literally, I'm not disrespecting him now. I just think he's at a level that he's always been at, and he's not going to get any better.
So you think that Saka's hit his ceiling already? That's the last thing I wanted. This is the ceiling, and he can't get any better from where he is right now today to in his career. He's just going to.
Please don't misunderstand the statement. In terms of his footballing ability, I think he's hit his ceiling. That is not his numbers. That's not his numbers. His numbers is what is the end result. His footballing ability, in my opinion, Saka is as good as he's ever going to get. And that's why the numbers that he's produced to this point, I don't think you're going to see a vast improvement on these numbers.
So I'm just going to, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this, yeah?
Go, man.
Every year Saka gets a criticism. So me and Catch here, we've been having this argument about Saka as well as Arsenal fans internally, yeah?
Okay, yeah, cool, yeah.
Saka, he would say to me, Saka, he never goes on the right, yeah? Saka started going on his right foot, started going around people, dropping the ball in. Then he would say to me, do you know what he needs to do? He needs to pattern that cut inside, whip it to the back post thing. Saka patterned that up. That's his trademark now. This season, first game, Saka never cuts inside and shoots near post. Yeah, I've never seen him do that. He always comes on his right foot and shoots near post into the ceiling. Those little intangible things here that you may not be noticing are the 4 to 6 assists and goals that he's missing, that he's gonna make the difference of. Yeah, so that's the last thing I want to say. He's gonna get his 20. He's on two. He's got 2 Gillet already. First game of the season. No, we need to move on to Tottenham now. We need to talk about you. We need to talk about you, mate. We need to talk about you. Yeah.
All I'm going to do, I'm going to end by saying this, right? Sadly, my start to the season is affected by work, right? But in 2 weekends' time, I'm all over every single game, right? On that weekend, when Arsenal play, I'm going to do a Saka watch, right? It's not going to be your numbers if it's just his goal assists or his actual goal return. It's going to be what crosses he had. Did the cross go anywhere near where it's supposed? I'm going to analyse absolutely every aspect of his game, because
I'm saying you can't do that in one game. You got to do that over like a 10-game period. Yeah, because what if today I just had a stinker, and then you're going to come on there and be like, "See, I told you, he was right, but I just had a stinker."
You ask Catch. I'll carry it on all season, man. It's not
all right, cool. I'll take that, but don't come in there after one game, yeah, because this is what my cousin likes to do. Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh, Odegaard, he had a stinker today." These times Odegaard's had 8 out of 10 for the last 8 games in a row. Yeah,
please,
and he's like,
don't put me in Catch's box, right? I'm talking. It will be a constant thing.
I'll be here, man. I'll be here because we're gonna look at them Kulizeskis and them Timu Werners and them guys there.
We're going there now. You can have as much fun as you like.
Yeah, mate. Because boy,
introduce us to the Tottenham.
Are you staying for the Tottenham or you gone?
No, you got me for another like 15, 20. I can be here to. He talked blasphemy on my Saka. I want to hear what he's got to say about his 65 million Dominic Solanke that's laying down on the floor and can't hit the target every time at the goalkeeper. But yeah, I'll let him go first on this one.
Right,
over to you, Hub.
Leicester 1, Tottenham 1. Am I shocked that Tottenham basically controlled a game for they're all saying 55, 60 minutes, or literally they were this, they were that, and obviously ended up with a failed result in terms of getting what should have been an easy win against a side that's probably going to end up in the bottom 2 this season. Let's have it right. Right, literally. No, I'm not surprised, because Catch will confirm this. The word I used last night, and after a game, it's very easy to be a little bit too angry, not assess the situation correctly, especially if things have gone wrong. But all I said was one word, basically, which was careless or carelessness. Now, that is something, right, which Tottenham have suffered for pretty much most of my life, right, in terms of the players that they've got are careless, right? They don't take enough care or pay enough attention to certain aspects. And you can go through every single aspect of the game last night or any games historically. It's a huge issue that Tottenham have had in my entire lifetime. So last night, 1-1. I didn't get to watch the first half, sadly, because I was finishing off my work shift. I watched the second half, right? What I saw in the second half, everyone on the radio, I was listening on the radio, right? And I did have the phone on, but
No, the Bugs, they got him. They got him, mate. Yeah.
we were this and we were that in the first half. But second half, from what I saw, right, I thought what I witnessed was a load of crap, right, in the second half. Now, as far as I see it, that is a typical performance from Tottenham. Owning the game, especially under Ange as well, literally playing the game in a certain fashion, which I'm quite happy about. The fact that we're trying to play some decent football and we are trying to be attack-minded. I'd much rather watch that than the shit that Conte produced for us, right? Or Mourinho before him, right, etc., etc. So I'm happy that we're actually trying to win games or trying to attack to win games. But in terms of the level of performance that a lot of our players can deliver, it is not good enough. That's the first thing I've got to say. My first summation of what I witnessed last night. And don't forget, I did only watch the second half. I didn't see it. Catch said to me in a message, he said, you look good. Good, though, right, overall, in terms of the first half level of performance. And I've watched us under Ange, and sometimes we do look very good. But in every game still, whether or not we play good football, we've looked good in whatever game you want to choose. Every single one of them, you can highlight carelessness, right? You can highlight, right, casualness. You can highlight poor levels of quality, right? That is what you get with Tottenham Hotspur, right, as a whole, right? And I'm happy to say I think this manager has got what it takes to change that. Now you can come back at me as much as you like, and I'll come again, right? But we are at least 3 seasons behind where you were when Arteta took over. Right, as in, Arteta's been with you now. Is this his 5th season he's starting, is it? Right, literally, and he's had 1. When your manager took over you were very, very similar to what we are now. And let's face it, right, we've sort of been like that for most of the last 20-odd years, 25, 30 years anyway. Right, in the 80s, we weren't a bad side. We won the odd FA Cup. But our manager now is trying to...
We weren't alive then.
Sorry?
So we weren't alive then.
I was, thankfully.
Yeah,
so
that's good for you, man.
When I last watched my
no black, it was black and white TVs and that.
We've got a manager now, right, who is actually trying to change, right, what has been like a cancer through the club for a very long time, and it's not going to be something he's going to do quickly. Just the same as Arteta didn't manage it, right? Arteta had to deal with Arsenal had fallen. It seemed to be very, very quickly, very, very sharply. After Wenger's last few years, it seemed to get, and literally you had 5 years pretty much in the doldrums. Arteta come in and has had to rip that out and repair and rebuild from the get-go.
I got 3 questions for you.
Go.
My first question is, usually the narrative from Tottenham fans is we don't spend money. Yeah?
We've spent enough. Go on, carry on.
Over the last 2 years, I've seen Tottenham spend more money than I've ever seen you lot spend.
Very badly. That's my answer to that.
Who out of those signings that your new manager has made do you feel like has been a successful signing?
Right. So the first is that your first question? Because you
that's my first question.
First question, right? Firstly, had it with Catch a fair bit throughout last season. Who and what players were actual Ange buys, right, is open to debate because he came into the club very late towards the start of the season, right? So was he aware? Was he already in the picture? Was he aware of, for example, the Brennan Johnson signing might have happened after he became the manager, but I believe that was already in the works. Maddison had already been signed, right? That deal had been in the pipeline for about 7 or 8 months, according to sources that I have, right? And we finally signed him in June, I think it was, right? So, in terms to answer your question directly, it needs to be approached indirectly as well. How many of our signings were Ange's choices, right? Last season, this season, Solanke, Archie Gray, right? We bought in the Burnley wing. I can't remember his Odebert, right? Literally, those 3 signings, in my opinion, they appear to be Ange signings. Right? Archie Gray possibly still got a bit of levy behind it because he's young. He's potentially got resale value. We're not going to lose any money on him, so he doesn't mind spending out on players like that, right? But I think that Solanke is definitely an Ange signing. Right? I think that Odegaard is definitely an Ange signing. So other than that, those two, last year we bought in Van de Ven. I don't think anybody can deny that although he might not be the polished sort of central defender,
I like him.
In some ways,
I like him. I think he's your best centre back.
I think he's exceptional, and I think he's only going to get better. Right? But was he an Ange signing? So to answer your questions, Solanke, I can only answer this way, mate. Which is Solanke, Odegaard. They're the only ones I know. They, to me, are absolute guaranteed Ange signings.
Okay.
Right?
So
now,
then,
whether or not Van de Ven was someone he handpicked.
So we'll throw Van de Ven in there just for the benefit of the doubt.
Right?
Yeah. So that's 3 signings. Yeah. So you're saying that, but you signed Maddison, you signed Werner, you signed.
I think the Maddison deal was done before.
No, but I'm just saying to what I'm going to say now, innit? Yeah. So you're saying that your manager is going to be the guy that's going to be able to turn it around. But if they're not buying players for him that he wants, how is he going to be able to turn it around? And out of those 3 signings, who do you say has made a direct improvement on your Tottenham starting 11?
Right, fine. Right, firstly, right, the point is when he first became our manager, he was pretty much brought in the middle of a pre-season, for want of better words, right? It was only a few weeks before the season started, right? So in terms of, I'm not suggesting, right, that the players are being bought, right, without his say-so. I don't know. Who does know that in modern-day football now? Apart from your lot, it seems Arteta picks out his players. Edu says, these are the ones you can have. But either way, that's how I think it should be run. But in terms of Ange, right, I believe Solanke is an Ange signing. Right, I believe that Odegaard is an Ange signing. I don't know about the rest, and I don't think it's fair to say any of those players. Maddison, well, I think the deal was already done before Ange was even a whisper in terms of Tottenham becoming the Tottenham manager, right? But to bring him in, Van de Ven, Solanke, and Odegaard, they're the 3 ones you asked me about. Van de Ven, I think, is a good signing for anybody. I think he's a likely Real Madrid kind of signing at some point in the future, right? Literally the kind of player that he is. I think that Real Madrid will come in for him at some stage, right? Solanke, I mentioned it in the group the other day, right, in the chat. I personally feel Solanke is a 3rd-tier player, right? Literally in terms of what the position he plays and what he brings to a game. However, I don't think he's too far away from 2nd-tier player. And what I mean by that is his position, Lewandowski and Kane they've epitomised that position in the last 5 to 10 years. They're top tier, right? I think that Solanke is trying, and he's possibly reasonably close to getting into the 2nd tier below that. Right, literally. So, but at the moment, I think I would consider him 3rd tier. But now he's a club now, having been at Bournemouth, tried to make his way at Chelsea, tried to make his way at Liverpool. He was at Bournemouth, had a good season last year. Now he's got to obviously Tottenham. Tottenham aren't the greatest team in the Premier League by a long shot, but there are more expectations on Solanke now as a player than there have been in the last 2 or 3 seasons. Do I think he's good enough, right, to produce what? I don't really know what my own expectations of Solanke are in terms of his goals and assists. All I want him to be is, and I know he will be, is better than Richarlison because he's a joke, right? But as far as I see it, I personally feel that Solanke will.
But can you put your hand on your heart and honestly say that Solanke is better than Richarlison?
I actually think Richarlison is one of the worst footballers I've ever seen. Right, his first touch, right, is atrocious. Right, I think his actual all-round footballing ability is absolutely useless, right? And how Daniel Levy can literally, right, like you say, lots of Tottenham fans moan that Tottenham don't spend money. We do. We just spend it badly. And in my opinion, it's mostly because Levy has the say-so on the players that are bought and the reasons as to why. Now, it's my understanding that Richarlison was more of a Levy buy than anybody else's. Right now, how can you sanction spending 60 million on someone like Richarlison? Right, as far as I'm concerned, you have to be nuts.
For me, I don't think there's a big difference in spending 60 million on Richarlison and spending 65 million on Solanke. They both had one good season at like a relegation lower league team, and to go and spend that on them, Like, it's a lot of pressure to go from Bournemouth, Everton to come to Tottenham, where it's a whole different ball game now. Like, the eyes is on you. Your hair, you're the Kane replacement, all of this kind of good stuff.
You're right coming from that angle, you're right. But I would answer it this way, right? Richarlison, I don't think has any footballing ability at all. Right, I think he's an awful footballer. Right, I think he's awful. Right, whereas Solanke, I believe, does have some footballing ability. Well, I said about the tiers, yeah. I think that Solanke at the moment, and let's see what he does this season. He's trying to push to become the second tier, right, at this stage of his career. Right, and don't forget he's 26, so it's not like he's a spring chicken anymore. So he's got. You're quite right. He's got to deliver. But if he's pushing for third tier, right, Richarlison is pushing for 33rd tier. Right, literally, that's how bad I think. That's how bad a footballer I think he is. Right, literally. Right, so let's have it right. So, in my opinion, like Solanke, I think he's probably easily 3 to 5 times the player that Richarlison is. Right, but that doesn't necessarily make Solanke the absolute answer for.
Because I beg you look up what Richarlison's numbers was in the Premier League last season for me.
I think he made 22 appearances and I think he scored something like 11 goals.
So based on
22 starts, sorry. Not 22
so based on your theory there, yeah.
Hold on. He's got 28 goals. 28 games, 11 goals, 4 assists last season.
So 15 GA, yeah. So based off your thought process, yeah, if Solanke doesn't get 45 GA this season, yeah, he ain't done his job. Because you said 3 to 5 times better than Richarlison.
It's not my thought process. I like the way that you come at me there, but it's not my thought process. The simple factor is, right, is that Tottenham, right, are a work in progress. And if Ange, right, like I said, is 3 years behind Arteta now, right, where Arteta was when he started. Ange, I said it to Catch the other day, right, Emerson Royale, Oliver Skipp, Højbjerg, Dyer, right, even Lloris, although Lloris I think was obviously he was basically retiring anyway, right? But there's 5 players alone, as far as I'm concerned, they're 5 of the worst players that have literally graced the Premier League, especially Højbjerg, especially.
Bro,
Dyer,
you don't want me to name what Arteta inherited when he first got this club, big man, please.
Yeah, that's the point,
because we had Mustafi and Socrates, and like you lot have got a lot better than what we had.
I disagree. I don't see how you can say that Oliver Skipp, Emerson Royale, right, Pierre Højbjerg, I can't see how you can say that they are better than anybody, right? But the point is let's try this in. Arteta, the first thing he had to do was he had to go into that club, your club, right, and he had to rip out everything that was hurting it. That's the first thing any good manager will do. All the shit has got to go. Right? In one season, and let's face it, it's not easy to move players on in the modern day game now because they can stay and see out their contract and earn money, blah, blah, blah. But in one season, Andrew's got rid of the 8 players at the club that Catch will tell you I have literally been crying into pillows about how bad they are, how much I've wanted them gone.
Who are those 8 players?
Those 8 players, Lloris, right? Let me just, Lloris, Højbjerg, Dyer, Emerson Royale, Oliver Skipp, right? That's 5. There's 3 others. Bloody hell, I listed them to Catch the other day in a message. Sorry?
Brendan Johnson as well. You hate
Brendan
him.
Johnson, I want gone. Yeah, hold on just one second.
He ain't going nowhere. They just signed him. He ain't going nowhere.
Let me just find the other list of the other 3 because they make me so angry. Right, it's insane. Right, literally, let me just
them 5 there is not worse than Socrates, David Luiz, El Nene, bruv, 72 million pound Nicolas Pepe.
You say that. Hold on a minute. If they're all shit, then the players you've just named there, if they're all shit, what does it matter? How can they be worse? They're all just shit.
No, but I'm saying like your shit was getting Champions League football, just scrape maybe Europa League. My shit was finishing 8th. Do you understand? Like there's a big difference.
Sorry, but I found the rest, right? Lloris, Dyer, Sessegnon, Tanganga, Emerson Royale, and Ndombele, Højbjerg, Skipp. Right, I was.
Ndombele, that guy, he stole a living from Tottenham, big man.
Well, yeah, but how many players does Daniel Levy allow to do that? But anyway, let's get back to that point I made to you. You're trying to compare your shit versus our shit. Catch started laughing and he agreed with me. Shit is shit. Right? It don't matter. There is no such thing as
Nah,
worse
there's different
shit is
types of
shit.
shit, big man. There's shit that comes out as one log. There's shit that just goes. There's shit that
Hey,
flies
wait.
out the sky and lands on you.
No,
There's,
I'll tell you
there's
what,
shit
right?
that's green.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it might
was
be a
funny,
different
and I
color.
love
Fam, there's different
living
types of
with
shit.
you.
That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Let's
Like,
go.
there's that shit where you're sitting on the toilet and you're like, please, God, no more. I don't want to go.
Hey.
No more, please.
Does he know that I'm in drainage?
Yeah, you know.
So then you should know that there
Right,
is.
listen,
You
8
understand?
players. Let's get back on track. Right, Arteta
Okay.
went in. He ripped out the absolute core cancer that was killing your club at the time. Right, and then bang, was also at the same time trying to bring in what he could to start rebuilding it and repairing it straight away. Our manager he's had that first season the same. 8 players in 1 year are gone. Now those 8 players, I have literally driven myself insane watching them when they played for us. Right, managers. Conte used to play Emerson Royale all the time.
All right, I understand that. But have the 8 players that they have bought to replace them 8 guys that they've got rid of, in your head, you still don't think that they're better. So you're no further along in your process to say.
Hold on. We are because at the if you look at our side now, right, literally, there will be no games now that Emerson Royale can come in and play because he's gone. Right, there will be no games now that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg can come in and play or feature in because he's gone. There will be no games where Oliver Skip can come in and play in any way, form, or fashion. Right? I would much rather Mikey Moores, right, the Dane Scarlets, all these youngsters that are supposedly coming through. I'm not prepared to turn around and say they're good or bad at the moment because they're youngsters. But I would have rather have had any of those playing than any of those 8 players that I just listed to you. Not for any. I don't care if they were literally they ended up being the cause of 3 goals that we let in. I'd just rather have them playing than the shit that was playing. That's it.
But all right, so can I say that you see, like your Archie Grays and that what's that next guy that you signed, the winger, the young winger that you signed? What's his name?
Lucas Bergvall or Odeberg.
Yeah. So those type of signings similar to like when you signed Sessegnon from Fulham?
I don't know what possessed us to sign Sessegnon again. Right, it's
because he was cooking at Fulham. He was good at Fulham.
I'm sorry and all that, but I didn't think he was that good at Fulham. But so what if he was good at Fulham?
But then I'm saying to you then, how can you say that you want to give Archie Gray £30 million signing the time?
No, I didn't say I wanted Archie Gray. I said he's one of the players that we.
No, you
Archie
said
Gray,
that your manager is gutting out and got rid of 8 players. So the new signings that he's made should be better than the signings that you've got rid of. So I'm comparing Sessegnon.
I think it's very evident already that Archie Gray is a better player than Oliver Skip. Well, I think it's evident already that Archie Gray is a better player than what Pierre-Emile Højbjerg was. I think it's very evident that Archie Gray is a better player.
And what gives you that evidence?
Because he can control the ball, right? He can pass the ball. That's the first thing I'd say. Emerson Royale literally is one of the worst footballers I've ever seen play the game. Right? Literally. And
okay.
This is the key aspect. Richarlison, the same. Right now, let's see. We're very, very early in the season in terms of all sides, yeah? Right, but Tottenham are literally. We've now got rid of 8 players that were hurting us, and they've been hurting us for about 5 or 6 seasons. They might not have been playing every game, but whenever they played us, they played for us. They hurt us. I can promise you that. Right, they definitely hurt me because my opinion is those 8 players weren't good enough. End of story. So the players that we brought in now, they played 1 game. Right, in terms of the Premier League's been started for 1 game. So in 9 games time, that's 10 games. That's nearly a quarter of the season, or just over a quarter of the season. Right, Archie Grays, Lucas Bergvall, who's been at the club longer than just this season, by the way, because we had him out on loan last year. Right, Odeberg, the Burnley player that we've just signed, Solanke. These are all players that have just come into the club. By that time, they would have played a quarter of a season. Right, ask me then whether or not I'm really happy with those players that have come in over the 8 players that have gone. My answer will still be the same. I'm just glad the 8 players I've mentioned are gone because they were fucking terrible. Okay. Right? But the players that we brought in, they're going to need some time to see if they're going to be able to produce or not. But my initial opinion on all of them is they were better than what we had before, 100%.
Okay. And my final question to you is, in your honest opinion, what is your honest opinion about Romero?
Another one that me and Catch clash on. I actually think he's quite a good footballer. Right? I actually think he's also a complete empty-headed, crazy mofo. Let's not get too silly swearing, right? Literally, I think he's an absolute lunatic in certain aspects of the game as well. But overall, I actually think he's quite an intelligent, good footballer. But he has these moments of like, last night sums it up. He got pulled out of position because Brennan Johnson was weak on the edge of the box and lost basically possession of the ball, or couldn't gain possession of the ball. It came down our right-hand side. He got pulled out of the centre-half position to try and cover the right back. And then when it got switched to the other side, right, where the cross came from for Vardy's header, as he's cutting across the box, he's run straight past Vardy and positioned himself in the middle of the box, whereas Vardy was the only real danger man. He should have just went straight to him. He actually
he never once looked over his shoulder.
He actually just ran straight past him. So absolutely, there and then, there's the criticism from last night. If Romero would have actually just literally, as he's got trying to rush back into position, Vardy's the only danger man here. He's in a little bit of space. I'll pick him up. Bang, probably no goal. Right? So you could argue that Romero was somewhat responsible for the goal last night. Right? But it's a bit harsh because the game evolves, etc., etc. But he didn't take up a good enough defensive position when he eventually got to where he was.
As your defensive leader in that back line, he has to be more assertive in that position for me. So for me, there's no one else that I can blame. You can blame Brennan Johnson for not trying to close down the ball.
No, I'm not blaming Brennan Johnson for Romero's lack of picking up Vardy last night.
That's for me.
It started from there. So it was a knock. That was what got Romero pulled out of position initially, and then he's just trying to get back into position to be set for the cross that came in.
Do you think he can be the centre back to lead you on to better things? Because I like Van der Ven, but I don't like Romero. I think Romero's rubbish. I don't think he's better than Alderweireld that you had, and I don't think he's better than Vertonghen that you had.
I don't think I wouldn't disagree in terms of what you just said about Alderweireld and Vertonghen, but they were both slightly different defenders in their own way.
No, of course, but just as what I'm looking at, they didn't. No matter how good you are, if you have a bozo gene. Yeah, that bozo gene will cost you at the wrong time. I'd rather you be slow and can't turn on a half turn because you can position yourself better than having a bozo gene.
That point you make there, you're absolutely right. But then I'd turn around and say that Gabriel is your Romero.
But he's cut that out.
You say he's cut it out. There were still, for instances, last season, right? It might not be. Romero is Romero. I have got a bit of a soft spot for him because he's a bit of a nutcase. I quite like him. I like my players to be 100% committed, right, as well as other aspects. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for him, but I won't argue or deny, right, that certain aspects of his game will cause us problems. They will continue to cause us problems. They do cause us problems, and it's something that eventually may well need to be addressed.
I feel like, you see, like when you just said to bring up Gabriel, I feel like that was part of the reason last season when we was possibly going to sell him to Saudi and stuff. Like, you need to cut that bit out of your game. Last season, I didn't see no bozo moments from Gabriel like that. He wasn't doing the things that he was doing the season before and the season before that. So this season, we're going to watch him now again because you can have a one season where you've done it. But once you've done it 2 seasons, 3 seasons in a row, then we look at you. But for me, with Romero, no matter how good Tottenham look, the game is going. That guy he's your Mustafi. That's how I look at him. Like, he just can cost you out of nothing. The game's going fine. You're on top. You're winning. Romero just go to sleep. Yes, 1-1. Yeah, bam.
I'm not gonna argue too strongly on that point. This is something we'll table for another time because it's bound to come up again. I like. There's what's the best way of putting it? Tottenham Hotspur, right, for probably at least the next 5 seasons, just like the last 20, we are not going to be in for really winning things. As in, when I say winning things, the only 2 things that count is the league and the Champions League, right? The FA Cup and the League Cup, yes, they are cup competitions, right? But to win those these days, even though we can't win them, it doesn't take that much to win an FA Cup.
But I'm saying, you as a Tottenham fan, you wouldn't lose your nut for a FA Cup right now.
Of course I would, but let me finish the overall point. Let me finish the overall point, right? The fact is we are not going to be, right, literally, we're not going to be pushing to win anything too soon. Possibly a cup competition could be in the offing this season or next. Who knows? But the reason why I'm saying that is because until we are at a level where we can truly stand a chance of winning things, I'd like to be entertained, right, until that time, right, literally, because otherwise, what else have we got? Well, our
Okay.
season's over by literally October, November. Because
So that's that falls into my last
Exactly.
question that I want to ask you now. Yeah.
So in a way, there's a little bit of love for Romero from quite a lot of Tottenham fans because there is an entertainment value when you see him kicking someone, right? As much as it's not the ideal thing, but at least he gets out there and he gives it to somebody.
Can tell what type of footballer you are, yeah. Get stuck it, make him feel ya. Yeah.
Well, in a way, yes, but don't get me wrong. I want us to be good as well.
All right.
The point you make on Romero, I've had it with Catch loads of time. I think he's a better player than he's given credit for. But you're right, 100%. The empty-headed moments, right, detract from him, and they will continue to detract from Tottenham. That is a fact.
So my last question to you before I go, because I got about 3 minutes before I got to go.
Well, mate, I'll keep it short and sweet.
Why do Tottenham not put everything into winning the FA Cup this season? As in, when it's your FA Cup games, you don't rest no players, you don't rotate, just to breed a different kind of mentality within the club to say, all right, cool. We don't matter about top 4 or even, we know, like worst case scenario, you know you're going to finish Europa League, Conference League, worst case scenario, innit? You're not going to finish 9th, 10th, innit? But if you play your Premier League starting 11 in the FA Cup every game until you reach the finals, semi-finals, whatever. For me, as somebody else looking in, I would want that more than, let's see if we can get a Champions League spot. No, go and get me a FA Cup, a Carabao Cup. Do everything to win those cups for us now, big man. Because fam, it's been 20 odd, 30 odd. I've never known it. So, for you as a Tottenham fan, what's your opinion on that? Like, are you more comfortable with getting a top 4 and no trophy, or are you more comfortable with saying, no, I'd rather finish 8th and win an FA Cup this season?
Right. Here's the first sort of point you made, which was basically, I don't understand why you don't go for it in the FA Cup and try and win it, right? My answer to that is why haven't we tried to do that for the last 10 years or last 20 years? Not just this season.
I'm saying, even Kane, Son in their prime, go for it.
Chelsea have reached, right, the FA Cup and League Cup countless times in the last couple of years, even though they've not been as successful or as strong as what they have been in previous years. In one of those years, right, they reached the FA Cup final, I think it was, to play Liverpool. The best side they played up to the final was Crystal Palace in the semi-final. Right, so that is proof there and then. You can reach a final by not playing anybody.
Nobody.
Right, that's how it is now, because no one takes them seriously enough. You can have, like, City, obviously a City. They've got so many good players. They can put out any side, but even they still have their moments where they get turned over. Right, so yes, so the point you make is, as far as I'm concerned, how the fuck have we not gone out to try and win one of those competitions just to get the monkey off the back? Right, that's the first thing. But secondly, why the hell aren't we going out to try and win every single game anyway and play our best side? Right, like you've just said, we've not won something since 2008. That's the fact. Right, that's 16 years. Right, so literally, right, that was the last time we won something, the League Cup. Now, I'm not going to belittle the League Cup, but the League Cup is not necessarily, right, especially now, I call it the Reserve Cup. Right, literally, it's because no one really takes it that seriously. If they make it to a semi-final, they might start putting their best side out. But either way, we should be going all out to try and win that competition, right? Until we're out of it, right? Then the FA Cup comes along a couple of months later. We should be going all out to win that competition as well, right? Until we go out of it, or if we win it, that's what should be happening regardless. And it's one of the subjects we'll cover.
I get the relegation teams, making so every team has to make rotation. Because you want to stay in the Premier League. But like I said, we know Tottenham's not going to get relegated. So why is the focus not to go out and play? Like, I would rather lose on Saturday to West Ham or to not West Ham because you're Tottenham, but I would rather lose to Wolves on Saturday. And beat Coventry in the FA Cup to go through to the 5th round, then lose to Coventry in the 5th round, and then beat Wolves on the weekend on Saturday.
Colchester is
whoever
done us in the last few years, right? Literally, we went out to Colchester, right? Now, listen, you said you got to keep it reasonably short. This is a subject we'll cover at a later stage, but this is how I'll sum it up, right? Who the hell right, at Tottenham Hotspur, whether or not it's Levy down to the executives and directors under him, to the coaching staff, to the players, who the hell at Tottenham has got the right to think, do you know what? We don't need to take this game seriously.
And that's what I'm saying to you. That's why I'm looking at your manager. Until I see somebody come in, and start looking at the League Cup and the FA Cup as something that is going to be the platform that's going to springboard you and change something. I don't care what players you buy, what players you sell, until you start to trying to be like, get a trophy over the line, because you got the big stadium, you got all of that stuff now. That's the thing that needs to change to make Tottenham be something. Until that, I don't care. You could go and sign Mbappe. Mbappe is going to come to Tottenham and not win nothing.
I agree 100%. And all I will say is this: last year was Ange's first season. In the League Cup first round against Fulham away, I honestly believe, right, it was our second game, I think it was, of the season, or our third game of the season. I honestly believe he gave the 11 underneath the starting 11 a chance to try and, because he
I want to see. No, last season I wasn't on him. That's your first season. You're looking around. You're trying to get your feet underneath the table. But either way, somebody has to go in there and try something different, because everybody's tried to make the £60 million signing, or we're gonna get this winger and he's gonna be.
That's why I brought that up, because I want to prove the whole point as a whole. We went out to Fulham in our first game in the League Cup. Right now, I think he gave the second string a chance to prove him wrong. Why they weren't in the opening, like in the opening lineup for the first couple of games. Then we pulled City, right, literally in the second game in the FA Cup, or the first game that we played in the FA Cup. Right, obviously we went out 1-0. Right now, I'm not going to knock him for the City game. Anyone that plays City, if you get past them,
it can happen. Right, it can happen,
no matter who you are. But this year, I agree with you 100%. If Ange doesn't go all out to try and win the League Cup first, because it's the first cup competition we'll be involved in, right? Then once the FA Cup games start playing, if he doesn't go all out, right, to win the FA Cup games, he's going to be in my fucking bad books as well.
All right. All right, but as a Tottenham fan, your Saka slander's a bit, but you're all right. You got a little bit of sense. You're all right. You're not too far, mate. Yeah. So we'll be back here to have this one again. Don't worry.
We'll continue to have it at Juicals. Good to meet you. Catch you next time.
Hey, right. I think that's the show, bro.
Yeah, that's it.
It's gotta be, innit?
Love for the love, like, subscribe. Yeah, next time, love.
We'll be back again. Yeah, love everyone. Like and subscribe if you're watching this on the playback. Love for the support. Hey, Hump, I'll catch you on the next one, my guy.
Listen.